What's up, everybody? A little weekend edition of Dave Talks Sports. I'm your host, Dave Ettinger of the Dave Talks Sports podcast, and you join me on my commute. Wherever it is I might be going on the weekends, I'm heading into the city. Weekday, I'm heading home from the city, and today I'm on my way into ESPN Plus. Going to help with a couple broadcasts. So, here we go. Long Island Expressway it is. It is 5:03 p.m. in the evening Eastern Standard Time, July 13th, and that's right, like I said, a weekend Saturday edition of Dave Talks Sports, episode number 17. So, a little bit of tennis on the calendar today and tomorrow. This morning it was the women's Wimbledon final, and oh boy, if you watched it like I did, I'm sorry. You thought you had more time. You had to plan out most of your morning and afternoon for this match. You had some time to fill because this turned out to be the equivalent of one of those first round matches where you see like the best player in the world, almost like the 1 seed in the college basketball March Madness tournament against the 16 seed where they're up by 38 at halftime, or one of those matches at Wimbledon in the first round where somebody loses 6-2, 6-2. And the match takes 47 minutes, and everyone goes, well, why did I just watch that? But you don't normally expect that from Serena Williams and Simona Halep. Now, if you had to guess, you'd say that Serena Williams was the one who won 6-2, 6-2, and the match took just about an hour. You'd be wrong. First of all, let me start this conversation by saying Serena Williams is, by far, the best female tennis player of all time. She's in the conversation for best tennis player of all time. I personally think it's Roger Federer, and we will be talking about him as well later on in the podcast. But she is better than Steffi Graf. I know she's trying to tie Steffi Graf for the most Grand Slams, 24 of all time, and it hasn't happened yet. But to also be fair, Serena Williams has played in, I believe, 6 Grand Slams since she gave birth. Don't forget that she actually won an Australian Open while she was pregnant. All right? Nobody knew she was pregnant at the time, but she was about 9 weeks pregnant when she won that tournament. So, first trimester for pregnancy is normally the toughest. If you're ever going to get morning sickness, I didn't plan on talking about pregnancies today, but you never know where we're going to go on the Dave Talk Sports podcast. First couple of months are usually the toughest, or they can be. So for her to do that at 8-9 weeks pregnant was astonishing, and one of the reasons why she is the best female tennis player of all time. But she's getting older. She's heading towards 40, and she's only played in 6 slams since she gave birth. Now, again, let's put things in perspective. She's been in 3 finals out of those 6 slams that we're talking about. She's been the runner-up in all 3. Sometimes, or most of the time I should say, if she loses, it's because she beat herself. She normally gets in her own head. She doesn't move her feet because she, despite being so good, she can be lazy. But today, I gotta say, again, remember what I said. She's the best female tennis player of all time. So nothing but respect for her accomplishments and her talent level, and she will win another Grand Slam. There's no doubt about it, assuming health. Today was pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Serena Williams looked like she had negative 5,000% interest in being on the Grand Slam final stage at Wimbledon. She looked like she was at her 3rd grader's play that is going to last 3.5 hours, and all she wanted to do was go home or go out to dinner or do something else. She looked like she had no business being on the court with Simona Halep. Now, let's not disparage Simona Halep and her accomplishments. Simona Halep is great. This is her 2nd Grand Slam. She is a fantastic tennis player, and I thought this was going to be a tough, hard-fought 3-set match. Instead, Serena lost to Simona Halep 6-2, 6-2 in approximately an hour. This was pathetic. Now, while I can understand that Serena Williams is the best female tennis player of all time, I also don't particularly like her. She seems like a spoiled brat. She complains. She yells at the chair umpires all the time. And it, again, let me preface this statement with this has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. She's similar to John McEnroe. I'm going to yell. I mean, his tirades were hysterical, actually. But they were ridiculous. We could yell at the chair umpire? No. Play better. So to Serena Williams, I say, play better, complain less. Please. So, she loses 6-2, 6-2, loses another final. She'll be back. She'll win another one. Congratulations to Simona Halep. But Serena Williams is the story here. Now, what would you rather talk about or listen to more? Serena losing or Simona Halep winning? Sorry, Simona Halep. Enjoy bringing that big shiny plate back to Romania. But you're not the story here. Congratulations. Enough of that. To the men's side of things, the final versus Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic tomorrow. That's what you're going to see. And just like I said, enjoy and watch Federer versus Nadal, which was an awesome match yesterday. Federer winning in 4 sets and looking absolutely amazing at the age of 37. Enjoy Novak Djokovic versus Roger Federer. I think we get a tough 5-set match with Djokovic winning something like 6-4 in the 5th set. A couple tie breaks mixed in there. I think this is going to be a really tough, really hard-fought match. But enjoy it while it lasts. Roger Federer is hands down the best tennis player of all time, men or women. And he's 37 years old. And the fact that he's still at the top of his game, just like Serena Williams is incredible. It's ridiculous. It defies the laws of physics. It's Tom Brady still being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and winning Super Bowls in his 40s. It's the equivalent of that in an individual sport in tennis. It's just insanity. So enjoy it while it lasts. Wake up at 9 a.m. and watch a little tennis. As they say, it's the last breakfast you get to have with Wimbledon. I'm rooting for Roger Federer. I'm a big Federer guy. But I think he loses in a hard-fought 5-setter to Novak Djokovic, who is the 3rd best tennis player of all time. I mean, we're just living in an era of unbelievable tennis that we may never see again, at least not in my lifetime. So let's move on to something that if you had written a script for, you couldn't have written it any better. All right, we know about the passing of Tyler Skaggs. Very sad, in his late 20s, very sudden death. And the Angels and Major League Baseball, they've been rocked with emotion. And you had the All-Star break, so people weren't really talking about it over the last couple of days, at least outside of the organization. But actually, their first home game since his passing was yesterday, and it was after the All-Star break. Now, they had Skaggs' mom throughout the first pitch, and what did she do? Oh, of course, perfect strike. They had different ways of honoring him throughout the game, before the game, and it was just really, really, really well done. But what happens, and I'm telling you, Hollywood, the best writers and minds and creative minds in the world, could not have come up with this and written a more perfect script. While it was 2 pitchers involved, the Angels threw a no-hitter yesterday. Just awesome. The best way you could probably, on the field, honor the man. Now, it came with an opener. In today's day and age in baseball, you get a guy who throws 1, 2, maybe 3 innings. And then you move on to a long mid-relief guy. And you try to bridge the gap that way and have an all bullpen game instead of having your traditional starter try to go 5, 6, 7 plus innings and then go to the bullpen. It's kind of things in reverse, and this is the way baseball works. So you had an opener, and he threw 2 no-hit innings. And then you get to Felix Pena, who's more of a long relief guy. Could potentially start. I think he has some starts this year. And he throws 7 no-hit innings himself. So a combined 2-pitcher no-hitter by the Angels. Just like I said, Hollywood couldn't have written it any better themselves. And it was just, it's not a storybook ending, of course, because it's very tragic. It's very sad. They will continue to honor him and honor his memory. But you can't write it any better in honoring of Skaggs. So, moving on to football. Football is not here yet, but there's rumblings. It's in our bloodstream. It's just something we all want. We can't wait for that Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, all that music, the full slate of games, Thursday Night Football, everything. NFL Red Zone, all of the above. Can't wait for it all. But one player is making headlines in the NFL already. And it's usually the quarterback. Sometimes it's the receivers. You get some drama queens. They really just, they want to be in the headlines. This time it's a running back. Melvin Gordon. I talked about him yesterday. He hit you with the bleep you, pay me. Good for you. I mean, I'm glad you want to stand up for yourself. The NFL is the one sport where the owners really have all the power and all the control. So I really appreciate when a player wants to stand up for himself and his brotherhood of other players. But a running back, that's not the way to do that. All right, Le'Veon Bell is either the best or second best running back in the NFL. He was willing to forego $14 million and sit out an entire season and still got paid less guaranteed money and less overall money than anyone ever thought he was ever going to make. Now, I'm happy he's wearing the uniform this coming season of my team, the Jets, because I still think he's one of the top 2 running backs in the NFL. But in terms of his struggle, his fight for financial gain, and for the other players in the NFL, for running backs, it was an absolute loss. That's $14 million you cannot recoup. Unless, of course, he got injured in that season and then he never gets the long-term contract. But assuming health, he lost in the long run. Now you take a couple steps back and you look at Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is a nice running back. Although he's been hurt almost every year he's been in the NFL so far. I think he came into the NFL injured. He's not the player Le'Veon Bell is. I'm not sure yet what kind of money he's looking for, but they're very far apart between the Chargers and Melvin Gordon of how much money they want to pay him and how much money he wants to earn. And I hate to break it to you, Melvin Gordon, you are going to be on the wrong side of this one. Now, I'm not in the camp of people who thought that the replacements for Le'Veon Bell, even though James Conner, while he was healthy, did a great job, I'm not in the camp of that you just up and replaced him. Because he's almost an irreplaceable player. He's so versatile. He catches so many balls. And he does everything out there. He's like having a receiver and a running back combination on the field at the same time. Melvin Gordon's not that. Melvin Gordon barely catches the ball out of the backfield as a receiver. And he had a very good season when healthy last year and pretty good the year before. But running backs don't get paid. Running backs are now a dime a dozen. It's a passing league. The shelf life for a running back to begin with is not great, but you're just not going to win this battle, Melvin Gordon. I'm sorry. You're taking a stance at the wrong time. If you were putting up your numbers, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, yeah, you'd have an argument. You'd have a leg to stand on. But I'm sorry. Today's NFL, they're just going to move on because they can find someone 80 to 90% of what you're doing for 10% of the price. So why are they going to overpay you when they can take that money and put it into the offensive line, the defensive line, or the quarterback? Because those are the most important positions in the NFL. And there's a lot of other positions that come before that. Protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback, be the quarterback, guard the guy that the quarterback's throwing to and be a corner. I can argue that the safety is more important than the running back. So why am I paying you all this money when you're basically a dispensable position. So, sorry. You could be very dependent on your offensive line. I'm not saying that I could run behind the best offensive line in the NFL, but most dime a dozen running backs can get you yards behind a very good to good offensive line. So Melvin Gordon, good luck. I'm rooting for you. Taking a stance at the wrong time. This is the wrong place at the wrong time, man. And lastly, I know I tend to yell in almost every podcast, and I may not yell. Maybe reserved anger and frustration. And it's not even about one of my teams. One of my least favorite athletes over the last 5 years, and there's a lot of them. There's a long list of punks. But if you had to give it an award for the biggest punk in all of sports, professional or college, who is it? His name is Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen is an absolute punk of all punks. Tripping people, getting up like, oh, what'd I do? What'd I do? Grayson Allen, you're a punk. So Duke covered up all his crap, right? You're going to trip people, you're going to be a baby, you're going to give everyone an attitude. And they dealt with it because he was a good three-point shooter and a good player and an athletic player, and he helped them win a lot of games while he was at Duke. Well, let me tell you something, pal. In the NBA, in any professional sport, organizations are not going to put up with this garbage. All right, I know you can look at guys who've gotten in trouble on and off the court, and they'll always get put up with as long as your talent level exceeds the headache, right? It may be wrong morally or any other way you want to look at it. Why did Ray Rice not get another chance in the NFL after punching his fiancée in the face? Because teams looked at him and said, this guy's on the decline in his career. He can't help us win games. And it's too much of a distraction and a headache to put up with. Now, I'm not saying Grayson Allen is punching women in the face. So stop right there. All right? But I'm saying that you then look at Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy did all sorts of crazy things. And eventually he found his way out of the NFL. But he was given multiple chances after doing ridiculous things. And the same thing has happened in baseball. Man shoots a gun at his house. Man hits his wife or girlfriend. And it's happened all over the place, unfortunately. I think it's disgusting. I don't think these people should get a chance in their profession ever again. It's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And I'm not saying that Grayson Allen is that, but all those guys got another chance. Adrian Peterson beats up his kid, gets another chance, and still tells you, after all that he'll beat up his kid because that's the way he was raised. So he's still going to discipline his kid that way. I'm not saying Grayson Allen is beating up a kid. I'm not saying he's hitting a woman. I'm saying that he is a punk and he's a headache. So Grayson Allen got ejected. And mind you, we're not in the regular season yet. This is still Summer League. Plus, by the way, there's a reason why you're playing in Summer League. Because you're not that good. He got ejected for two flagrant fouls. No, what's the big deal? It happens, DeMarcus Cousins gets ejected, Draymond Green gets ejected. Yeah, first of all, those guys, when healthy, are worth the distraction. But I'm telling you that in a couple years, maybe less, Grayson Allen and his antics are not going to be worth the headache and the distraction that he is. So again, I'm not comparing him to someone who's hitting his wife, hitting his kid, breaking the law. But you trip enough people, you get ejected with enough flagrant fouls in the NBA or any professional sport, you're going to find yourself unemployed. All right, so smarten up, Grayson Allen. I don't know if you ever see this video, but if you do, smarten up. And if you want to see this video and all other videos, subscribe right there to the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. This is the Dave Talk Sports Podcast, episode number 17. I'm your host, Dave Ettinger of CBS Sports Radio Network, and I'm on my way to my other job, ESPN Plus, where I help out with some broadcasts of games. It's now 5:22 in the p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday. A Saturday edition, a weekend edition of Dave Talk Sports, July 13th. I hope you guys had fun. A little tennis, a little baseball, a little football, a little basketball. A full slate. So, Enjoy those beers tonight, everybody.